Good day. So for our next discussion, a continuation of our previous discussion about contracts. So it is also considered in the topic under the subject civil engineering laws, ethics, and contracts. So we discussed before some of the parameters, what are the vices, what are the voidable contracts, and among others. So on this presentation or in this discussion, pag-aaralan natin kung ano ba yung mga parts ng mga contracts and paano ba yun piniprepare. Although contracts are commonly prepared by lawyers and attorneys, so it should not be omitted that the civil engineer lacks information in the preparation of the contract. So ibig sabihin, as a civil engineer, kailangan alam din natin kung ano ba yung mga nilalaman or ano ba dapat yung tinitingnan natin sa isang contract. Okay? Kumbaga paano natin siya ini-interpret or binabasa. So this presentation will have a comprehensive guide to understand what the engineers and professionals must know before drafting a contract. From client needs to be a formal parts that make an agreement legally binding. Okay, so hindi lang yung civil engineer yung merong obligation to determine what the parts of the contract is. Kailangan pati yung mga client natin. So before drafting, what the engineer must know. So kailangan ito yung mga parameters na i-check natin bago tayo mag-prepare or maghanda ng mga contract or ng contract natin. Okay, di ba nga sabi natin, contract is the meeting of minds of two individuals. Okay? Before drafting any contract, the engineer should be aware of the several key considerations to ensure the agreement is sound, lawful, and aligned with the client's objectives. So first, ano ba yung kailangan ng client natin? What are the needs of the client? So kailangan natin intindihin the specific requirements and objectives para saan ba or ano ba yung pinapasukan natin ng contract. Okay? What are the objectives of clients to ensure the contract addresses their actual needs? Next, terms and conditions. Be aware of the desired terms and conditions, including the subject matter and consideration of the contract. So, next is legality. So, kailangan yung mga dinalagay natin sa contract natin are legal in conformity sa mga existing laws natin. Okay? Verify the legality and contemplated contract to ensure it's enforceable and compliant to applicable laws. So, since contracts, lalo na kapag notarized na yan, is treated as a public document, so kailangan para maging enforceable yung contract natin, kailangan legal yung mga terms, mga provisions na nilalagay natin sa contract natin. So contract is para siyang personalized document to make the agreements of two parties legally binding. Parts of a contract, so versus essential versus optional. Like a business letter, a written contract has different parts which may be referred to as essential and optional. The latter comprises those which are dispensable, like the salutation. So ito usually yung mga mababasa natin sa mga contracts, yung mga introductory statements such as know all men by these presents, and such titles such as yung contract of sale or kasunduan sa bilihan. So example pa ng mga titles yung mga deed of sale, contract of lease, kumbaga ito yung pinaka-title ng mga contract na pinapasukan natin. Okay? And it is always somehow accompanied by the present sentence that know all men by these presents. So for optional parts, salutations to the public. title page or title, such as the contract of sale, and the instrumental witness sections. So the essential parts, however, is the body or kung ano ba yung nilalaman ng kontrata natin. This includes the parties involved, yung mga first party, second party, third parties, mga terminologies, terms and conditions, mga dispositive clauses, kung kailan at saan pinirmahan yung contract, pirma siyempre ng parties involved, mga first party, second and third. Mamaya meron tayong discussion about sa mga parties involved in a contract. And of course, the notarial acknowledgement or the uh, notarized or pag-notarize ng document natin. So, nag, pag kasi nag-notarize tayo or nagpapanotarize tayo, we a certain lawyer or certain attorney facilitated our oath to signify the truthfulness and free will to give our consent. And once it is considered as under the notary public or notarized, this is considered as a public document and it is enforceable in courts. So first part, what is the title of the contract? So the title is usually placed at the top of the agreement and it is generally derived from the nature of agreement itself. So common examples such as yung contract of sale or kasunduan sa bilihan. So most of the time, yung mga words natin are in English and Tagalog. So most of the time, contracts are in English. But oftentimes, for some instances, lalo na yung mga um, para mas maintindihan is nagkakaroon tayo ng contract na in terms of Tagalog para mas comprehensive yung understanding dun sa binabasa lalo na if yung mga nagbabasa is not that as intellectual as we are. Okay? Kumbaga, at the end of the day, kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng contract or any document is in order for us to have an agreement and understanding. So, of course, depende yun sa um, sumusulat at pinatutunguhan ng sulat natin or yung document natin, di ba? So for optional nature, the title is considered an optional part of the contract. It is indispensable though it serves us to identify the nature of agreement. So kahit hindi siya necessary na magkaroon ng title yung contract natin, it is a best practice because it will serve as a good identifier kung ano ba yung contract na binabasa or pinapagawa natin. Second part, yung salutation. The salutation is merely placed at the purpose of style and it usually intended to impress the parties and public who may glance at or read the contract. It is often worded in bold letters from the top portion of the document. So if nakabasa na kayo or nakakita na kayo ng contract, most of the time makikita nyo sa may pinaka upper left corner ng document yung know all men by this present. So this one is present. Okay. Standing wording the term know all men by this presence. This traditional phrase serves as a formal salutation to the public and it is often displayed in bold letters the top left portion of the contract as I mentioned earlier. So part 3, one of the main G's of the contract is the body. So this body is the core of the contract. It is defined as the contracting parties, whether natural or judicial persons, as well as the intention to be bound and objects and cause, as well as the terms and conditions. It is usually presented in the following arrangement. So first, introduction of the parties and agreement. So who are the parties involved? Who are the first party? Who are the second party? And if warranted, who are the third parties involved? So it identifies the contracting parties, whether natural or judicial persons, as well as the intentions to be bound and objects in cause. Second, what are the terms and conditions? What are the agreement that they're going to go into sa contract natin? So this includes the details of the obligations, what are the rights, mga compensation, and kung mga ano yung pinag-agrihan na ng mga both parties or the involved parties. Third is the depositive clause, the operative portion that expresses the actual agreement and the binding commitment of the parties. Fourth, very important, the date and place of the execution. It signifies or specifies when and where the contract was executed, it establishing its temporal and geographical context. So for the body or the terms and conditions of contract, the terms and conditions from a central part of the central body, it details the obligations, rights, and stipulations agreed upon by the parties. This presented alongside with the introduction of the parties I mentioned earlier, the depositive clause and the date of executions. So what are the obligations? Obligations defines what each party, either first, second, or third, is must do or refrain from doing under the agreement. So sa body natin makikita kung ano ba yung dapat at mga hindi dapat gawin ng mga parties natin sa contract natin. Otherwise, if nag-fail tayo or intentionally finail natin yung contract natin, um, that is grounds for breaching of contract. So that is punishable by law. Okay. Next, rights. So under the body, um, rights are established for the entitlements of its contracting parties. Again, also, and the body part of the contract, it's the stipulations or the stipulations, whereas it specifies the conditions and provisions governing the contract. So, yung body natin, yung body ng contract natin, identifies what are the obligations, rights, and stipulations of the parties involved in the contract. So, for the positive clause, it is the operative portion of the contract that expresses the actual agreement and the binding commitment of the parties. It follows the introductions to the parties and terms and conditions and precedes the date and place of execution. So, kung mapapansin niyo ulit-ulit yung mga parts natin and ulit-ulit ko din in-emphasize what the date, time, and place of the execution importance. Okay? The date and place of execution specify para hindi where the contract was executed, establishes its temporal and geographical context. Ay, kahit sabihin pa natin na nasa abroad yung isang party, so merong mga pagkakataon na nagkakaroon ng remedy to supplement yung mga hindi siya physically present. Okay, mayroon tayong tinatawag na pinaparad ribbon dun sa embassy, tapos pinapadala sa bansa natin if warranted. Okay? These details are presented as part of the body of the contract following the depositive clause. Fourth part is the signature of the parties. By signing the document, the parties of their legal representatives serve as proof of their consent and giving them binding effect thereto. So if pinirmahan na natin yung document natin, good as approved na at least yung document or yung contract natin. So best practices din at saka common practice na to identify if tama yung pirma ng parties is ina-attach din natin or in-appendicize or appendix natin yung copy of the ID with signature of the parties involved. Okay? The signature is an essential part of the contract confirming that the parties agree to be bound by the terms and condition. So, yung signature natin, aside dun sa nagbibigay na tayo ng free will or free consent. So, dito, malalaman pa natin kung ano pa ba yung importansya ng signature, pirma, or lagda ng mga parties. So, again, it serves as a proof of consent. So, once napirmahan na natin yung contract natin, that means we're giving our consent in our contract. So, kung mapapansin nyo dito, at beforehand, nabanggit natin yung mga legal representatives. So kahit hindi yung mismong proponent yung pumirma, as long as it has the authority or the special power of attorney of the certain proponent is good as if he or she is the proponent itself. Okay? So that is another document din, yung special power of attorney or yung authorization ng client to a legal representative. Okay? So once we signed the contract, we are binding effect of the agreement. So parang ito yung adhesive or yung nagbabind na sa meeting of minds ng contract natin. So by signing also the contract, the legal representatives may also sign on behalf of the party serving as the same purpose by proving consent and giving binding effect. So, most of the time, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga witnesses, mga legal representatives, mga if wala tayo or hindi tayo physically present. So, nagbibigay tayo ng mga authority, as I mentioned dun sa proof of consent kanina, na sila yung magsasign on our behalf. Okay? So for notarial acknowledgement, so what is the notarial acknowledgement? This is when parties acknowledge their fee or their free act and deed before a notary public who signs and affixes a seal by contract administering an oath and thus converting into a public instrument. So katulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, once it is notarized under a notary public who signs also his seal in the contract, those contract document is a public instrument. So it is a matibay na instrumento or enforceable yan sa courts natin or strong enforceable document sa mga courts natin. Okay? Kasi we are administered to have an oath. Okay? So parang madami mga implications if hindi natin sinunod or hindi totoo yung mga pinanumpaan natin. If I'm not mistaken, that is grounds for perjury, okay, pagsisinungaling, okay, breaching of contracts, and among others. Okay. So, for the key functions of the notarial acknowledgement, parties acknowledge their free act and deed before the notary public. So, as I mentioned, nanunumpa tayo sa harap ng abogado. Okay. Notary public signs and affixes seal in the contract. Notary public o yung abogado yung nag-i-smear ng oath. Contract is converted to a public instrument. Note that a notarized contract carries greater legal weight as a public instrument, making it admissible court without further proof of authenticity. Okay? So, matibay na ebidensya yung mga contract na notarized. So, for the common parties in a construction contract, so who are the contract personalities? Okay, who are the parties involved. So for the sake of the discussion, I will relate it into a construction contract. So a construction project is governed by main agreement between two primary parties, yung first party and second party. Whereas some instances, nagkakaroon ng third parties playing essential roles in delivering the final product. So for the overview of the contractual structure, every construction project centers a prime contract between the owner and the general contractor. So ito yung pinaka-common, yung first at saka second party. So example naman ng mga third parties, yung mga subcontractors, consultants, external stakeholders who are supports the project delivery through direct or indirect agreements. These layered structures allow the owner to maintain a single point of responsibility through a general contract while enabling specialized work to be delegated efficiently. So for the first party, ito yung para sa first party natin, ito yung owner, client, or employer natin. So the owner is the person or entity who owns the project, initiates the contract, provides financing, and decides the final product. So ito yung pinaka-criteria o yung distinction ng first party. Siya yung may-ari, siya yung nag-initiate ng contract, siya yung magbabayad, at saka yung nagdi-demand ng final product. So they procure the work, hire the main contractor or the second party and the design team, define the project scope and provide the payment. For the roles, example natin yung landowner, property development, or the government agency itself. So responsibilities procure the works, hires main contractors and the design team, and etc. So the first party, it is also known as the client, the employer, principal, and the developer. Okay. For the second party, this involves or this describes as either the contractor or the general contractor. The contractor is the entity contracted directly by the owner to execute construction works in accordance with the contract plans and specifications. So roles niya is siya yung general contractor, prime contractor, and design builders. For the responsibility, so parang in short, merong directly connection yung first at saka second party. For the responsibility, managing constructions, hiring subcontractors, complying with safety and quality standards, and ensure that the project is completed within the budget and time. So it is also known as the builder, main contractor, head contractor, etc. Kumbaga, on the other hand, not construction related, the first party is directly connected or in contact to second party. Okay? But first party siya yung nagbabayad, second party siya yung binabayaran. Parang ganun. So third party, so if warranted, nagkakaroon tayo ng the third party is an outside and direct contractual agreements of privity of contract between the owner and the general contractor. In construction, the term usually refers to those who has a vested interest rather, or direct contract with the second party, such as subcontractors and suppliers. So if merong pagkakataon na kailangan mag-hire ng another expert or magkaroon ng expertise yung second party, yun dun pumapasok yung sinasabi natin na third parties. Subcontractors are hired by the general contractor to perform specialized tasks. For example, yung electrical works, plumbing works, HVAC, and masonry work. For the first tier, directly contracted by the general contractor. Second tier, contracted by the first tier subcontractor. Okay? So, halimbawa, yung second party, nag-hire siya ng another contractor. Those are the subcontractors. So that is the third tier subcontracting. Yung sinasabi naman natin na second tier contracting, if the first or yung pinaka unang subcontractor natin is nag-hire pa siya ng another subcontractor. That is the second tier subcontracting. Kumbaga, subcon of the subcontractor. Okay? So, based on my knowledge and experience, so case-to-case basis, okay, if the second party has all the capacity to do it, to execute the project deliverables, so there's no need to hire a subcontractor kasi dumadami pa yung mga kinakausap or mga persons involved in construction. Okay, pero if hindi naman talaga kaya ng isang general contractor to conduct such electrical plumbing and among others, um, why not hire? Okay, but definitely based on my knowledge, walang directly connection yung first party to the third party. So kaya nga nabanggit dito that the third party is um, hired by the second party. So the third parties or the consultant and professionals. So consultant and professional are third parties hired to design or oversee the construction works. This includes the architects, structural engineers, and the project managers. Architects rather designs the overall project, producing plans, etc. Structural engineers, as we all know, ensures the structural integrity and safety of the design of construction. Project managers oversee the execution and coordinating with the owner, general contractors, and etc. Third parties also the term used for vendors, suppliers, and external stakeholders. So vendors, it entities supplying materials that will become part of the project. Financial institutions such as banks, yung mga nagpapautang, nagbibigay ng financing. So third party din, yung tawag dun sa insurance or insurance company who provides the constructions, liability, and insurance. Third party din yung tawag dun sa municipal regulators, ito yung mga government bodies overseeing permits, codes, and compliance such as the building officials office. So contractual relationship, so for the prime contract, the direct agreement between the first party or the owner and the second party or the general contractor. Subcontractor agreement is the term used to define the binding contract between the second party and the third party. Whereas for collateral warranties, documents giving the owner or the other government or other third parties like tenants direct rights to use or direct rights to sue a subcontractor or consultants by passing the general contractor. For the summary, uh, the role, party type, and the primary responsibility are um, presented in this table, such as owner is the first party, he initiates, funds, and defines the project, then contractor, second party, subcontractor, architect, funder, third party, and etc. For the key takeaways, two primary parties, first the owner, second party the contractor, form a prime contract. Third parties are the subcontractors, consultants, etc. Contracts define rights, prime contracts, subcontractor agreements, and collateral warranties establish legal response, relationships, and liability. So these are some of the examples of the contract. So for form number one, contract for construction of a house. Ito yung title ng contract natin. So it is salutations, you all men, know all men by these presents. Okay, this contract was made in blank, Philippines, in the blank day of the 19 blank, and between the person either single, married, and kumbaga dinidefine niya kung ano yung mga ah, kailan ginawa yung contract, okay? The body after this witness set, okay? And the notarial acknowledgement. Of course, in witness whereof, yung mga signed and sealed by the notary public. So for employment of a contract of an engineer, so ito yung mga contract natin, it involves how much we are going to be compensated. Okay, for example, in this presentation, the corporation shall pay engineers fixed salary of 5,000 pesos a month. So, mind you, this document is on in the year 1990s. Okay, so but the point there is it is stipulated in the contract how much you are going to be compensated, kung ilan ba yung office hours ninyo, mga deliverables, terms and conditions, and etc. For example din ang deed of sale ng all men, so sino yung gumagawa, sino pumipirma, what is the description of the property, either the land, lot description, vehicle, etc. Next point in our discussion, the definitions of specification or specifications natin. So in construction, meron tayong tatlong tinatawag na magkakapatid na document. Ito yung estimates, ito yung plano, at yung pangatlo yung specification. It complements each other. So kung ano yung kakulangan ng estimate, for example, yung mga specific procedures, nandun yun sa plano or nandun yun sa specification. Kumbaga, it complements the uh, pagkukulang ng dokumento na yun. Kung wala yun sa estimate, tingnan nyo sa specification. Kung wala yun sa specification, tingnan nyo sa plano. Okay? So according to Mr. J. Tucker, specification is the general statement of the work to be performed. A description of materials, quality is required, the class of workmanship to be performed with definite limits as to what test must be made in order to determine the compliance and requirements. So all in all, ito yung pinaka-general statement kung paano gagawin, ano yung mga materials na gagamitin, and construction methodology, and etc. So essential requisites to considering a preparations of a specification. So first we have the technical adequacy. So it is required the specifications embrace the general provision and the technical section. The general provisions relate the legal administrative matters such as interpretation, liabilities, responsibilities, rights. Under the technical sections, on the other hand, the specification writer must know the materials involved, their physical and chemical characteristics, their peculiar suitability and adaptabilities. It also that the specification writer must know every step of construction procedure including safeguard to be imposed in such procedures. In other words, the engineer writer should acquire extensive technical knowledge in phase of the construction work. Second, requisites of a in preparing a specification. It has a definiteness and certainty. A common fault in specification writing is indefiniteness of the description, perhaps due to the fact that the engineer lacks sufficient knowledge in the work of materials he is attempting to describe. So, isa sa mga guiding principle or guiding book ng mga specifications, lalo na sa mga government projects, is yung sa Department of Public Works and Highways Standard for Specification for Highways and Bridges and Airports. And meron pang another book ng DPWH, yung tinatawag natin na Blue Book, is for vertical structures naman. Okay? Sa private, halos gumagawa yung engineer, pinaprepare yun ng mga engineer. Okay, so siyempre kailangan alam natin yung mga procedures, mga chemical compositions, etc. But in a government project or even in private, we can serve or we can the book presented in this slide can be a guiding reference in preparing a standard specification. Next point is how the third part of our discussion is yung sa law. Okay? So, but before we go further in the discussion on the different civil engineering law related laws, let us first identify or discuss paano ba nagagawa yung mga batas natin sa Pilipinas. So this will be a step-by-step guide in to guide Philippine legislative process. So it is a reference to the legislative process presented by the Senate of the Philippines in their website. So as we all know, we have three branches of government. We have the executive, which is headed by the president, judiciary headed by the Supreme Court justice, and the legislative branch of government. It is yung legislative branch of government natin. This divided also into two, which is yung upper house or yung Senate of the Philippines and the lower house or the House of Representatives. So these two houses are equally or somehow equally are equal power. Okay, pwede mag-umpisa sa Senado yung bill, tinatawag na Senate bill, at pwede naman mag-umpisa sa House of Representatives or tinatawag na House bill. So later on kasi magkakaroon sila ng magkaibang versions, and after some time, pag didebatehan nila yan kung paano ba yun, kung ano yung mas makakaganda dun sa mga constituents natin base dun sa kanilang proposed bill. So if the law is being proposed, it is still considered as a bill unless otherwise signed by the president. So for the legislative process, we have at least 8 parts of the introduction and proposal, first reading, committee review, second reading, third reading, other chamber, bicameral conference, and presidential approval. Every law in the Philippines begins a bill, and it is introduced in Congress. So katulad ng banggit ko kanina, kapag nag-umpisa yun sa Senate, that is termed as Senate bill. Kapag nag-umpisa naman yun sa House of Representatives, tinatawag natin yun as House bill. So who can introduce a bill? So any member either of the House of Representatives or the Senate can propose a bill. Otherwise, or in fact, ito talaga yung trabaho ng mga House of Representatives natin and yung mga senators natin to propose to pass a law for our benefit or for our good benefit ng mga karamihan. So there's no limit in the number of bills of whether by the way, tinatawag pala natin yung mga representatives natin yung sa House or sa Senate as legislator, yung mga gumagawa ng mga batas. So what can a bill cover? Bills may address a wide range of national concerns including public health, education, taxation, infrastructure, and social welfare. So for tracking a bill, citizens and students can monitor the status of any bill in real time. So if we want to track a bill, we can venture dun sa website ng Senado at saka ng House of Representatives. So first is the bill is being referred and it is read in the first reading. Once a bill is drafted, it is formally introduced during a session of the chamber. The first reading is procedure step. Its sole purpose is to inform all the members about the existence of the proposed legislation. Kumbaga, introduce na yung bill. Okay? So the title is being read aloud to formally um, record in the floor or the chamber, making a part of the official legislative record. And the bill refers and first reading, so copies of the bill presented either by the House or the Senate um, is being distributed. So in this part or in this reading, wala munang debate or boto or pagbobotohan sa stage ng introduction or yung um, first reading ng bill natin. So by the way, third reading pala yung requirement. Halimbawa, nag-umpisa yun sa House, that is House Bill, dadayin ng first reading, second reading, at saka ng third reading. Tapos after ng third reading sa House, papasa yun sa Senate at magkakaroon din sila ng sarili nilang version and babasahin ulit yun ng 3 beses. Kung nag-umpisa naman yun sa Senate, tatawagin natin yung Senate Bill, babasahin ng first, second, and third, and then ita-transfer or endorse din yun sa House of Representatives to have them reviewed and provide their own version. So sa step 3, committee reviews and reports refers to the right committee after some time na binasa na yung batas or proposed bill, i-endorse na ngayon yun sa appropriate committee. For example, if yung bill natin is proposed to the infrastructure, definitely it is endorsed to the Committee on Infrastructure. If education related naman, pupunta yan sa Committee on Education. Kapag health related, pupunta yan sa Committee on Health. Okay, so committee members then conduct a detailed review of the bills, provisions in holding a public hearings where experts, government agencies, stakeholders can provide. So this phase is critical. It is where the amendments, so nagkakaroon ng amendments or ratification and refinements to a bill are made based on the expert input and public feedback. So nagkakaroon na ng mga consultations, mga public hearings, etc. So sa second reading, nagkakaroon na ng debate or amendment and or amendments. So once the committee is satisfied with the bill, it is returned to the floor of the chamber for the second reading. So nagkakaroon na tayo ng debate kung tama lang ba or dapat ba yung mga provisions na nilagay natin dun sa bill natin. So if hindi talaga pasok dun sa standard, so might as well it is being removed, or if magkakailangan lang ng um, konting adjustments, magkakaroon tayo ng amendments. And then, magkakaroon ngayon ng chamber vote kung dapat bang mag-proceed sa third reading yung proposed bill natin. If the bill receives majority approval, it advances to the next stage. Other than that, it will be archived. Okay? With the third reading and final approval of the chamber, so nagkakaroon tayo ng final review, no further amendments on this one, and nagkakaroon na ngayon tayo ng majority votes if ipoproceed na natin yan at ibibigay na yan sa presidente for his signature, or kung di pa kailangan ipapirma or magkaroon ng further review, it's either babasahin ulit yan or i-archive na. Okay? So the third reading is the finality check, not another debate. Okay, if di pasado na sa third reading, kaya nababanggit niyo, di ba, nasa katlong pagbasa na yung bill natin. Okay? And then, after mapunta na sa mga, kung House bill yan, nagkaroon na ng Senate version and yung agreement ng both chambers, it is First reading, committee review, second reading with debate and amend, the third reading with the final vote. If no changes is made, if the second chamber approves the bill without amendment, it proceeds directly towards final approval. If changing is made, if the second chamber introduces amendments, the bills return to the originating chamber for concurrence, agreement of the revised version. So if wala nang papalitan, after mapunta sa second chamber, proceed na yun sa for signature ng president. Okay? If nagkaroon man naman ng amendment, babalik yun sa pinanggalingang chamber and magkakaroon sila ng concurrence or agreement na sa revised version. For the second step, bicameral conference committee, it is formed when the Senate and the House of passes different versions of the bill. Tinatawag natin na bicameral conference committee to reconcile the discrepancies. This committee is composed of the members of both chambers known as the conferees. It is being conducted to negotiate and produce a single unified version of the bill that both chambers can accept. So in this bicameral meeting, nagkakaroon tayo ng single unified version if nagkaroon man ng revisions or amendments dun sa bill na pinanggalingan niya. Next, step 8, yung presidential approval. So, a bill is being termed as law once the president signed it. Okay, so meron tayong at least 3 action taken na mangyari sa bill. Okay. So first, if pasok yan sa provisions, lahat talaga, tsaka okay yun sa Pangulo, it is being signed. Okay? So once the bill is signed, tinatawag na ngayon na law yun. Okay? Para maging fully effective na yung law natin, it should be published in the national circulating newspaper such as the Official Gazette, Manila Bulletin, Philippine Daily Inquirer, etc. Okay? Basta in-inform mo na yung public na merong batas na pinropose and gagawin. Okay? Next, if the president has no action taken, kumbaga pinabayaan niya lang yung bill na tinransmit sa Malacanang, so it will lapse into law. So if the president takes no action within 30 days of receipt, the bill automatically becomes law without a signature of the president. So hindi niya inapprove or hindi niya binito and pinabayaan niya lang yun ng 30 days, it is considered as lapse into law. Kahit wala yung pirma ng presidente. And if the president don't want to sign the bill, binivito ng Pangulo or binivito yung term to for the president not to sign the bill into law. Okay, and babalik yun sa Congress natin. Okay, but kahit sabihin natin na hindi yung pinirmahan ng Pangulo, and while the Congress has 2/3 majority vote, both chambers, ma-override ngayon yung veto ng Pangulo. Okay? Kahit hindi yun pinirmahan ng Pangulo, again, kapag merong 2/3 majority vote of the both chambers, magiging pa din batas yung bill na pinapost nila kahit hindi yun pinirmahan ng Pangulo. So, a vetoed bill, so again, if wala pa binito ng Pangulo and then walang 2/3, so veto na at hindi na magiging batas muna yung bill na pinapose ng chambers natin. So, vetoed bill is not dead. It can be reintroduced or Congress can accept the override veto with sufficient votes. Okay? So, pwedeng tanggapin na lang ng Kongreso na na-veto yung batas and then i-reintroduce ulit, magkakaroon ng first, second, third reading ulit or i-override nila yung veto ng Pangulo with sufficient votes. Okay, those are the procedures how the laws are made, okay, to have a law.